CD Projekt Red was at the top of the 2020 headlines with the release of Cyberpunk 2077. However, the open-world first-person blockbuster was in the news for all the wrong reasons. Outside of high-end PCs, the game was virtually unplayable with a laundry list of bugs, crashes, and even moments that would brick your save and corrupt the files. The release was so bad that Sony pulled the game from their PlayStation Store 2 weeks in and began issuing refunds. Ooh, that's gotta be rough, and no doubt one of the biggest AAA blunders of all time. To their credit, CD Projekt Red ate the punches that came their way, put their head down, and got to work. While the game wasn't playable because of technical problems at launch, there was a great game at its core hiding underneath the PR rubble. Cyberpunk DLC was always on the roadmap, but the Projekt Red team took the player feedback to heart, implemented it, and dropped an absolute banger of an expansion in Cyberpunk 2077 Phantom Liberty. Like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video, and let's dive into one of the greatest redemption stories in gaming history. The world of Night City has always been littered with goons, crime, and problems that need solving. However, in Phantom Liberty, you're tasked with the biggest conundrum of all, saving the Noosa president in the rundown, gang-ridden area of Dogtown. The substantially sized location is nestled seamlessly into Night City but brings a much different feel from the rest of the world. It's moody, dingy, feral, and feels like a place that you'd want to avoid to stay out of trouble. The world of Dogtown feels like the outcast part of Night City that they wish people didn't know about, and is a perfect complement and contrast to the beautifully corrupt Night City. While Dogtown has its ugly charm, it's the new characters, story, and side missions that make it all come to life. With Noosa's president Rosalind Myers in danger, you're quickly introduced to a range of people with ulterior motives that claim to have your best interests in mind. The prominent character here to help you along the sketchy way is a federal sleeper agent named Solomon Reed, played by the one and only Idris Elba. His straightforward, company-first mindset is apparent, but like many characters within Cyberpunk, he has more to him than meets the eye. There are other memorable and impactful characters throughout the 10 to 12 hour campaign, but I want to keep them anonymous to avoid any spoilers for you. In regards to the 10+ hour campaign, the missions themselves are some of the best in the entire game, with a great mix of espionage, going in loud, deception, and palm-sweating action. Each main mission has a definitive set piece that either left my jaw on the floor or gasping for air out of shock. There's two moments that will stick with me forever. The first is the opening mission when you encounter a new piece of tech. The second is an espionage mission where you need to impersonate someone. It felt like a moment straight out of Inglourious Basterds, where you can tell every voice line you make is getting analyzed under a microscope. It's a mechanic that I hope makes it into more games, because I could feel my palms sweating and heart racing with every question they asked. It was purely brilliant. The overarching main quests provide a great variety of objectives while also driving the story in multiple directions as it led to the ending. Similar to the original Cyberpunk story, you're presented with a few options on how you want to carry out the later missions and make some very tough decisions. These choices influence how the end of the story plays out, with up to 4 different endings. Some of the endings did feel predictable based on the context and information you received through the story, but there's one in particular that hits you like an absolute ton of bricks. I won't spoil it, but it's an ending that you will either love or absolutely hate. Personally, I'm infatuated with the ending because of how different it felt compared to traditional game endings. It's an emphatic stamp on the conclusion to Cyberpunk 2077, and I'll never forget sitting there, staring at the ending credits in gut-wrenching silence. Outside of the stellar main characters and story, the side gigs stand out in their own right. The revamped gigs are a great variety of long and short missions, but each provide great context and individual storytelling, making them feel impactful, memorable, fun, and occasionally hilarious. One of my favorites was having to run psychology experiments on someone because they were wholeheartedly convinced that they were a high-profile celebrity. It sounds silly, and it certainly was, but the side gigs provide a great change of pace from the dire and sometimes heavy main missions. The new location, story, characters, and side missions aren't the only shiny new things in Phantom Liberty. The addition of more weapons, cyber tech, and cars comes splashing into the black market for you to add to your arsenal. Some of the new guns like Hercules, SMG Warden, and Grit Handgun all feel great and shred baddies with ease. There's more cyber tech than ever that put more of a focus on enhancing skills and giving you abilities like stealth or cracked out movement speed. And then there's the cars, which got one of the biggest overhauls within the new expansion. You now have the ability to shoot out of your car and take out the opposition while staying in the comfort of your 4-door sedan. Not only can you engage with enemies from your car, but you can also now purchase vehicles with mounted machine guns and missile launchers to really send that message to the rival gangs. I love the updated car combat as it adds an additional layer to how you can attack a job or mission. There's a very forgiving lock-on system plus partial auto driving, which makes the experience feel accessible, but at times a little too easy. I won't complain though, because I prefer car combat to be on the easier side than more cumbersome. At the end of the day, Phantom Liberty is one of my favorite expansions because of the diversity, content, surprises, and fixes that it provides. It is no question worth every penny of the $30 asking price. Do you want to know the best part? CD Projekt Red didn't want to stop there and provided a free, yep, you heard me right, free 2.0 update to the entire base game and expansion. The update overhauls so many gripes that fans of the game have had since launch and results in Cyberpunk 2077 feeling like a completely different game in 2023 compared to its release. Within the free 2.0 update is an overhauled skill tree, new police system, updated UI, vehicle combat mentioned previously, updated enemy AI, and so much more that I'll be here for 20 minutes if I list out all of the changes. Yeah, the update is that massive. I'll dive into the changes that really stood out for me and link the full update from Cyberpunk's website in the description. The skill tree in vanilla Cyberpunk had a ton of perks to choose from that mostly involved passive abilities and kind of felt overwhelming most of the time. In the update, the entire skill tree got reworked and shrunk down with an emphasis put on skills that are usable within combat and the world. Each tree provides a different proficiency ranging from hacking to stealth to a frenzy melee killing machine. Each skill tree feels more tangible with every perk while also not locking you into one particular playstyle. Now with the new update, you can remove any perk for free and reallocate it elsewhere. I love this change because it allows me to play how I want to play depending on my mood, and if that mood changes, my perk tree can change with it too. Armor for your character is now provided through Cyberware, making your outfits and apparel purely cosmetic. This for me is a welcome change because I don't really like changing up a look just because it provided better stats. With armor now in Cyberware, the system got an expansion with additional slots and perks to allow more mods for your gear. It feels like items got consolidated into a more manageable state with an easy to understand system as to what you're applying and how it'll affect you in the field. I was always a guns blazing kind of guy in vanilla Cyberpunk, but the updated Cyberware was so fun to mix and match that it encouraged me to try and experiment with the other playstyles. One of the biggest complaints that I and many others had prior to the update was the lackluster police and lifeless NPCs throughout the city. In the 2.0 update, these changes make Night City come to life more than ever before. The new police system is inspired straight from GTA with the 5-star system that ramps up as you commit more crimes throughout town. If you get a high enough star level, even max tac will get involved in trying to take you down. While the 5-star system isn't new by any means, it's the best for a reason and feels right at home in Cyberpunk. Alongside the revamped police system are NPCs that have a lot more spice and personality to them. You'll get snark remarks, funny comments, and real-time reactions to action happening around them. Shots start popping off, you'll hear them scream and watch them run away in fear. The population of Night City truly feels like citizens of this corrupt place and make the masterful game feel like the liveliest it's ever been. While I mentioned the vehicle combat earlier, the drive-bys wouldn't be so fun and engaging without the updates to how the vehicles handle. In vanilla Cyberpunk, the cars felt loose, inconsistent, and sluggish. Now the car handling feels tighter, more responsive, and faster. Without the updated handling, I think the car combat would have fallen flat or become frustrating, but luckily, they complement each other very well. The last change that really stood out to me was the updated UI, especially with the phone menus. I used to loathe having to use my phone because of how easy it was for messages and important info to get lost in the mix. Now the phone is streamlined and much easier to use when trying to communicate with your contacts. The other big win is the cleaned up journal housing all of your missions and side gigs. Now, each mission type has its own tab as well as distance markers so you can easily find the jobs you want to do and where you want to do them. It's small stuff like this that made the whole experience so enjoyable from beginning to end. There's a ton of other small quality of life changes in the 2.0 update, so I'll include a link in the description so you can check it out. I want to emphasize, the best part about the 2.0 update is that it's free for any and all Cyberpunk players, even if you didn't purchase the Phantom Liberty expansion. While the launch of Cyberpunk 2077 will go down as one of the biggest blunders of all time, it also paved the way to become one of the greatest redemption stories in gaming history. CD Projekt Red could have given up on the game, said they couldn't fix it, and left it in a state of sheer disappointment and failure. But they didn't. Instead, they stuck to their word about fixing the game and exceeded expectations for me. The original Cyberpunk story was amazing in its own right, and Phantom Liberty builds off it by providing a definitive conclusion to the world of Night City. It may have taken almost 3 years, but Cyberpunk 2077 is now unequivocally one of the greatest games of all time. If you haven't played Cyberpunk because of all of the horror stories, I strongly encourage you to pick it up now, as it is literally a completely different game and experience. Returning fans can fall in love all over again, with the 2.0 update making a second playthrough feel like a new game. Cyberpunk 2077 has grown from a gremlin to an absolute masterpiece and rightfully receives a 9.5 out of 10. Thank you for watching this review of Cyberpunk Phantom Liberty. Drop a comment and let me know what you think of the complete overhaul and if you think it's one of the greatest redemption stories in gaming. If you enjoyed the video, a like goes a long way, and if you want to catch future reviews, go ahead and tap that subscribe button. This is Josh Robinson with Joystick Gamer. Thank you as always for watching, and seriously, just go play Cyberpunk. It's amazing.